And then we said, okay, why should this happen again? That's not, this would be very unusual. And we set up an appointment that we will start riding this horse. And the very day before we really started, I went out in the stable in the morning and I saw this horse with a wound on the breast, about 10 centimeters long, bleeding. And yeah, I got the vet and it had to be sewed. And so you see how strong the thoughts of a person can influence a horse. So she was thinking, oh my God, this will happen to the horse when I want to start riding. And this was so intense. And the horse wanted to take away these thoughts, wanted to heal the person, and got this injury. And this was again an example for me how closely the animals are connected to their owners. To me, it's far beyond this normal connection we are aware of. Yeah, so I come to the horse and I pet it and I clean it. This connection exists even if we do not think about it. They are always connected to us. And it's an enormous gift we get from the animals. That's, to me, it's kind of their task to show us and enable us to more connection, that we again find this connection the horses always had and all the animals always have. So I think that doesn't only hold good for horses or for donkeys, but for all kind of animals, also for cats and for dogs. I'm most experienced with herd animals, but I think that all animals are much more connected to nature and to earth and to the universe, and that they connect with us on a level we are often not aware of. And I got a message from Tessa which she would like to be shared, and I already gave out this message last time I was on the SEEDS conference, and I think it's really important it's an important message, and that's therefore I want to give it again. It's that we the animals, and especially the horses, they started to connect with all horses all over the globe, and that they strengthen their connection to increase their power to support us, to support mankind, and that there will be many places like we have here on our property. Many places like this will pop up all over the globe, so that people get the chance to experience the ability the horses really have, and therefore that people can step into this energy field of horses, which makes it much more easier to connect and to be aware of the oneness and to let go of ego. and that this reconnection with the earth and nature and plants and universe is one of the tasks animals have taken, and they want to support us. They want to show us the way, how it's easy to reconnect and to find out and really experience that we are those infinite beings who just have a finite body. And yeah, so this was the message I got now. It's about 2 months ago, and it really felt important to Tessa that I bring this message out to as many people as possible. And yeah, and again, it's different if you just come to such a place as I have and come and get a session or book a class. Then you can really experience this healing within your body. But when you have an animal on your own, this animal feels kind of responsible for you, and is always very, very connected to you, and tries its best to bring your energy into balance. And often they create the same disease as the person has in order to heal them. And yeah, so that's what I wanted to share with you today. Yeah, I have a couple of more stories. I don't know what's about the time.
You can keep going, Renata. No pressure.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, then I would like to tell my story from Tosca. Tosca was my first horse. I got her when I was 19. She was about to be slaughtered. She was living in the stable where I learned how to ride. And she was difficult to be ridden, and the owners didn't care for her anymore. And so yeah, she was to be slaughtered, and I said, well, no, I don't like that. I will buy her. And I did so. And she was about 8 years old by then. And so I was 19, and I was in good shape, and I could ride quite well. And so it was I liked riding her, and also it was a challenge because she was difficult to be ridden, and she once she jumped off a bridge with me, and she jumped towards trucks, and she bucked, and I often fell off, and so it was difficult, and I didn't keep her for a long time, just for a couple of years, and then I sold her because I thought it's just too dangerous to ride her, and she's just a crazy horse. And this story of that she's just a crazy horse, I kept telling this story till about a half a year ago. It was beginning of this year when suddenly I got pictures from her, and it felt like she somehow started to connect with me. And then I started to go through old pictures And I spoke to my mother-in-law because she still had other pictures from her. And then one one night, when I was about to go to sleep, but I wasn't sleeping yet, I I felt as if someone is entering my body from behind, and I felt how my arms got longer, and how uh, then my I felt how that my fingers and hands got hoofs, and my neck was growing, and then I could see my eyes looking sideways, and my back stretched, and the hind legs, my legs got hind legs with hooves. So I turned out to be a horse, and as the days before I so much was thinking about Tosca, I knew that it was her. And then she suddenly said, "Okay, I now show you why I behaved like that." And then what I felt within me was total chaos, and um, really chaos, not knowing what to do. And um, yeah, I do not have a better word for it, but absolutely chaos. And uh, then this lasted for, I don't know, a couple of minutes, and then she disappeared again, and she left my body again through the back. And then it suddenly all made sense to me what this was. It was, um, I said I got Tosca when I was 19. And in those days, I didn't know at all what had happened in my childhood. I only found out 3 years ago, because I never had any memory of my childhood. But it was very traumatic, and there was a long-lasting traumatic episode with my grandmother. She was physically abusing me for a long time, and there was also sexual abuse from my father. Um, and I had completely dissociated from my body, so I couldn't remember anything of that. But still, all this memory is stored within my body. And the horse felt it. And the horse, Tosca, she was aware of this chaos and this trauma within my body, and couldn't couldn't do differently but behave in the way she did. So actually, with her, the my healing of my trauma already started, uh, although I was not aware of it because I didn't know about the trauma. Um, but she was the first indicator, and she was the first horse who started to heal me. And when I was talking about Tessa, and this is something I only found out during the last month. I told you that Tessa, she suffered from narcolepsis, and that's and that is that this is a disease where you fall asleep so deeply that you're kind of unconscious. And this disease doesn't only occur with horses or animals, but also with people. And I read, and I was thinking about this: when you have a horse for such a long time, and she is always connected to you and always tries to heal you as an owner, what has this narcolepsis to do with me? And for a long time, I wasn't aware of this. I thought, okay, she's just that's just coincidence, but it couldn't be, and it didn't. It's not. It was not a coincidence. And so, for a long time, when I was the owner of Tessa, I didn't know about my trauma. Only during her last 3 years, I got aware of it. And when I got aware of it, her narcolepsis increased. And so the explanation for me is that as long as I was completely dissociated from my body and I was not aware of the trauma, she didn't have this narcolepsis as intense as she had. And when I started to release my trauma, she even more started to support me in my healing. And narcolepsis, I looked that up, can also be indicates dissociation. So that's so it was her way of supporting me with her energy and trying to heal me. And I was not aware of this on that level for, yeah, I only found out about it about a month ago, that it definitely was her way of supporting me with her energy. And yeah, that made me even more grateful, and I'm filled with gratitude towards this horse, towards Tessa. Yeah. We have another animal living in our farm. She is a donkey, and her name is Lexi. And she's 26 years old. And she came here when she was pregnant. I have a picture of her. Okay, no. And she had her foal here, so her foal is Charlie. And after Tessa and Pascal started to communicate with Angie, she also started to do so. And and that's also one thing perhaps it's good to tell. The ability to communicate with us people is also something animals do not have in the same way. So some animals are can communicate more easily than others, and it's also something they can learn. And that's what Tessa is doing on the other side. She is supporting animals to communicate with people. And it seems as if Tessa has also taught Lexi how to do so. So Lexi first connected with Angie, and she told her that she would also like to support people, and that she's very good in taking away grief. And that she wants to support people who are grieving. And that's one day I got a message from Angie that Lexi, that there will be a person in a wheelchair and that she will cheer him up and make him happy. And I said, well, no way. You see, we live in a small village and I know everybody around here, and there is no one being in a wheelchair. And so I don't know how this should happen. And just about a couple of days later, a neighbor came over and said, well, his father is moving in from Germany, and he will live in the house next to us, in the house next to our stable where the donkeys are, and that his father only could be persuaded to come to Austria because there are the donkeys, because he didn't want to come, he wanted to stay in Germany. But the son wanted the father to move to Austria so that he is closer because he needs help. And this old man in the wheelchair, he grew up with donkeys, and he was so much looking forward to live in a place where the donkeys are next to him. And now he really moved in about 2 or 3 weeks later, and they built a small way towards our property so that he can be moved with the wheelchair and that he can see the donkeys every day. And you see, I couldn't imagine how this is going to happen, but I was told that it will be so, and Lexi has foreseen this, that this will happen. And then there was I have another nice story to tell from Lexi and all of the donkeys. This was end of this winter, or more in spring already. So they were changing their fur, their hair, and that's always very itching, and then they like to be brushed. And I was brushing all the time, but still they were not satisfied. And again they told Angie that I shall get someone who comes to brush them. And Lexi also said, well, then when you put it out in Facebook, and then there will come a lady with a child who is being bullied in school and who needs the support from her so that he feels better. Okay, so I made a post in Facebook, and about 15 minutes or 20 minutes after I posted that, someone sent me a message on Messenger if she can come. She lives in a neighborhood, and she has already been seeing me and had a coaching with me. And so she said if she can come with her son. Her son is, I think he was 11 or 12. And when he came, he said that, or not he, but she said that he has difficulties in school and that he's being bullied. And that's amazing. And they also told me that he's very interested in animal communication, and she is as well. And she has a lot of books on animal communication, and that the boy has been reading all the books already. And so there must have been a connection already before I sent out this post, that Lexi was aware of this very boy, who probably has already been communicating with her. So crazy. But I love this crazy stuff. What animals are, what they sometimes also do when I work on people is that they do not only join with their energy, but that I get messages from them, telepathic messages. This can either be some words or sentences, but sometimes they also show through their behavior. So once I was working on a client, and I had my mule coming towards the table, and this is a pony mule, so she is not big. She's about 1 meter and 20 centimeters high, but she's very, very direct. And so I was working on this lady, and Lily, so that's the name of the mule, Lily came, and she started to bite the table, trying to smash against the table. She was trying to bite into the pillow, and she was really not respecting any borders. And it was quite difficult to handle it. So I was asking my client, so what is this? Why does this happen? Nothing happens by coincidence. And she said, well, I have no idea. No, I do not have any problems with any borders. Well, I said, okay, but there must be something, otherwise it won't make sense why Lily is behaving in such a strange way. And well, often when we have a problem, and this problem is so close to us, we do not see it. It's like not seeing the trees in the forest. Yeah. So after a couple of minutes, she said, well, but it can't be my son, can it? And I say, well, what's the problem with your son? And she was telling that her son, and he is a young adult, is literally respecting none of her borders. And she let him so much into her space, she isn't even aware of it anymore. So that was Lily indicating. First, the client didn't know. She said, well, this has nothing to do with it, because it was so usual that her son is so much within her and so much going over her borders, that she was not aware of that. So the first step was that she realized that it's her son not respecting her borders. And what we did then was that we put her energy out, and put her energy out of her physical borders, and so that she created an aura around her and put a lot of energy on her border, and to keep her space clear. And what was happening then, as soon as we did so, Lily stepped off and away from the table and was standing about half a meter outside, half a meter away from the table, and she was standing there, and you could feel that she was angry, and I could see it, but she didn't come closer. So she really respected the space this client had created. She still showed the anger of the sun with these new borders, but she kept outside. And this client phoned me afterwards, and also a couple of days later, that there was really an intense change in the behavior of her son, that he is now so much more respecting her borders. He is upset with the new borders, but he respects them. So exactly what the mule has shown then happened in real life. And yeah, again, a fascinating experience I had with this mule. Okay, so what more do we have? I had a client who she came and she was talking about a couple of things, and I asked her, so what is the real issue? Why are you here? What do you want? Or what brought you here? And she was not actually saying anything. It was kind of a testing how this will work and if this will work. And suddenly one horse started to cough. And I said, okay, so one horse is coughing. Does this tell anything to you? And she said, no, that's just coincidence. No, why? I don't have a cough. And I said, well, coughing does not mean that the horse is sick now, or coughing has to do with your lungs. And in your lungs, you store grief. And is there anything you're grieving about, or are you sad? Did something sad happen lately? And well, then the client, she started to cry, and she said that her mother died recently, and she hadn't allowed herself to grieve so far, and that, yeah, and she couldn't talk much then because she was crying, and the more she was crying, the less the horse was coughing. So it was as if through this coughing through the horse, she gave herself permission to allow the grief and the sadness. She allowed the grief and the sadness to be seen. Before that, she didn't allow it, and she had it locked in her body. And the horse made it possible, first indicated that there is grief, and then allowed her to show it and to let it run through her body. And yeah, she was crying for almost all the session, and it but it was so relieving and freeing her. And yeah, she was very grateful, and she was amazed that uh, this came up. Actually, she didn't want it uh, to talk about the death of her mother, but this really showed, yeah, she couldn't hide it. The horses, or this particular horse, has felt it, and made it possible for her to release a lot of her of her grief. I once had another client, and this was um, a very interesting session. She only came once for a coaching, um, and she she came because she had enormous problems with her cortisol household, with her cortisol in her body. And she said she had a tumor on her adrenal gland, and at the moment there is no production of cortisol within her body, and she has to take cortisone supplemental every day. And so cortisol is very important for our household, for our life, to be awake, or to have any energy, or to be in a mode that where we can do something. And if you do not have cortisone in your body, you simply can't get up. You're just tired, and if you do, you have to supplement cortisone, otherwise you will die. And how did this happen? So she had a tumor on the gland, on an adrenal gland tumor, and this tumor was taken away. And before it was taken away, there was way too much cortisol, and then there was surgery, and the tumor was taken away, and now the adrenal gland didn't start working again. And so actually she came because of this problem. And
Hey, Renata, just a question came in from one of our chat rooms from Forgotten Origins. From Digital Dame is asking, does Renata do Reiki healings out in the horse yard for people that don't have their own horses?
yes, I do. And
I'll look for more questions, Renata. We'll keep you working.
I want to continue on this special lady I had here, because this was really interesting. So she had this problem with her cortisone, and that's why she came. She wanted to find out what was this about. And while we were talking, she told me that she had a horse, but this horse died not long ago, a couple of weeks ago. And this horse died from Cushing syndrome. So Cushing syndrome is a malfunction in the sugar metabolism. They then create, they get so long curly fur, and they're more sensitive to other diseases like laminitis. And actually, mainly old horses suffer from this disease. And this horse was not old. And it's then a chronic disease, and it normally they do not die from it early. So this is a chronic disease which lasts for years. But her horse, he got this Cushing syndrome and died within only, I think it was 1.5 years. He died on this syndrome, and that's very unusual. And what I didn't know, and what she told me then, was that this adrenal gland tumor she had suffered from is very rare for people, and it's the same as the Cushing syndrome is for horses. And when she told me this, and she was not aware of this connection, yeah, but when she told me this, I got goosebumps all over. You see, there was this horse, and it was her horse, and as long as he was possible to take over this, he again tried to heal her, and he created this Cushing syndrome, which is normally a chronic illness and lasts for years. But he has taken so much, tried so much to heal her, that he died from it within 1.5 years. And then she got so bad that she went to hospital and got a complete screen, and then they found out about the tumors and had them removed. This really was one of the most intense relations I got aware of, how animals try to take away illnesses from their owners. I don't know how this worked out further with her. She only came once. I told her about this connection, and she should perhaps have a look at that. But yeah, she only came once, and I haven't heard from her since. So I don't know if I have more stories of clients to tell. So the question was, if I do the Reiki sessions, you do not have to have your own horse. People come to see me with, and most of them do not have own horses. You do not have to have had any contact with horses before, and you can come and see me, and I put out my massage table and work out there, and the horses won't make a difference.
Here's an interesting question, Renata, is coming in from Forgotten Origins from Digital Dame. He asked, okay, how do you go with people that might be fearful of horses?
Okay. So the thing is, if they would like to actually have the massage table within the space of the horses, then I have the experience that the horses do stay away. They do not come close. They leave the space which is needed to feel safe, because they are aware that the person is afraid. If the person who comes doesn't want to be too close, we can also work on the other side of the fence. And the third possibility is that we work with the donkeys only. Um, the donkeys have another energy as the horses have, and they often people are afraid of horses, but they are not afraid of the donkeys. Their energy is softer and more inviting, also for people who have never connected with horses or animals. They think that the donkeys are less dangerous. They're smaller, and their energy is softer. So I can also offer a session with donkeys only. That's what we also do when we have groups, and when we have more than one table out there, then we only work with the donkeys. So we often have groups here and classes, and we then we put out the tables on the riding area, and we invite only the donkeys to come, because they are softer and people are less afraid of them.
Have you had clients that had fear of horses?
There
Judy?
often there often are. But I only had one person once where I had the table outside the fence. All the others, they dare to come in, and we either work with the donkeys only, or the horses go away.
Okay, so here is a okay. I was going to say there's not really all that much of a difference between a horse and a donkey. They really belong to the same family, and the donkey is just slightly smaller. Um, what makes you think that some people may have fear of the horses, but not of the donkeys? I know you just mentioned about the softer energy of the donkey, but is there something beyond that, that people are relating more to the donkey instead of the horse because of their phobia?
Well, donkeys are more seldom than horses are. It's more likely that someone once had a bad experience with a horse than with a donkey, because there are not so many. This would be one explanation. And the the horses also have a different way of oh, my cat is joining. um, the horses, they live they come from different areas, so they always need a lot of grass, and um, they are closer in a herd, and standing closer within the herd than the donkeys are. The donkeys, they originate from an area where there is not a lot of food, where there is not much grass. They come from northern Africa and Western Arabian uh, mountains, desert area where it's very stony, and the animals are not very close to each other. Yeah, so there is not enough food that they are close together in the herd, and therefore they have a different life within the herd. For instance, in a herd of horses, there is always one leading horse, and mainly so in wild herds, it's a mare who is leading the herd. And with donkeys, there is actually no leader, but always when some donkey has something important to tell to the herd, he gets the leader. And that also makes a difference, that you can also tell when the donkeys and the horses live together, there is always this one herd of donkeys within the herd of the of the horses. So it's a group within a group, and they have different rules, slightly different rules. But this can also make a difference that people are less afraid of the donkeys, that they perhaps are aware of this other system in the herd, that there is actually no leader. Does this make sense?
It sure does. It does make sense, Renata. Let's address a couple more questions over here before we let you go.
Okay.
This is a question asked by two people of Marnie Kent. Does Renata do distance healing using the horses? And Carol Cantu asked pretty much the same questions. Could you do this at a distance from country to country with the horses?
I think I can, but I haven't done it often yet.
Yeah, I guess that would be pretty difficult, right? Transferring the horse's energy or the donkey's energy via your conduit. I can imagine that would be very taxing on your avatar as well, eh?
Well, what I when I get a picture from an animal, I perceive energy and I perceive information. I I get that, but I uh, I don't know how my animals then can connect to someone else. I experience that my animals always tell me something whom I shall contact, and they have messages for the people who come, and they also have messages for the people who have been here. So people who have been to my place, they tell me that let's say 1 or 2 weeks later, they have this special horse had contacted them again. Um, I think they what they like to have is personal contact first before they can work via distance. Okay.
Hi, sorry about that, Renata. I'm just on the line with my next guest. I will add Rob Yachts to the stream. And
Absolutely, absolutely. An entity is an entity, and it doesn't matter if it's human or if it's an animal or even if it's a plant. Yeah, it's the same life force energy running through them. Yeah. Mhm. Sure. Mhm. Yeah. And what clients are telling me when they first come here, yeah, and they have not had much experience with horses, yeah, and when they first come and they say, oh, they are so huge, and I say, yeah, they are huge, but feel their energy, yeah, they are not hostile. There is just huge and intense energy, and as soon as they lay down, they forgot about the size of the horses. You see, they lay down and they close their eyes, and they just feel it, and the fear is gone, because the fear is often only based on our seeing, on our uh, what we perceive through our eyes. But when we close our eyes and when we feel this intense energy of the horses, and how calm they are, and what they have to offer to us, they it changes immediately.
Yeah. I just wanted to mention real quick too that people that don't believe in this have to actually look at the animal kingdom and what happens. We have things like dogs that actually sniff cancer out on people. And when you look at other things like elephants, a really good example,
Yeah.
they actually mourn their dead. When
Yeah.
they walk by a skeleton or a graveyard of other elephants, they cry. They literally feel this. So people have to understand that there is a definite connection when it comes to all these other animals and stuff. And it's no different than the human race, you know?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Rob,
Oh,
Rob,
awesome.
people on Full Spectrum Universe are saying that they can't hear you.
Oh,
That's a bit odd.
yeah.
I have added Renata's website, guys, in the comments just now. Please feel free to go over there and check out what Renata does, and go through the archives and videos and such that may be there. Renata, just before I let you go, we have one final question
Okay.
coming from Forgotten Origin. And actually, I wanted to ask this the last time we were speaking, but then, it just like over my head. It's from Digital Dame, and he says, also, do you set up a meeting first with the client, or wait until you get information from Tessa or advice, then do the treatment?
No. Normally, I don't know why the client is coming. And when they are here, they tell me as much as they want to tell, and I start working.
Okay. Okay.
And I often I do not have to know what it's about. I think that's also one important point, that you actually do not have to know, that the mind always wants to be fed, but the horses, they work with the body, and they heal the body, and it's not necessary to know what is happening. It's just releasing, and it's often easier if the mind is not involved too much.
Yeah,
So,
I can. Yeah, that totally makes sense too, because if you're not aware or fully aware of what the person's illness is, and then when they lay down on the table, when you're communicating with the horse or the donkey, then through the energetic language, they'll inform you of what's wrong with this person and what treatment they need, and what type of Reiki energy that they need. Am I on the right path there?
and that's also how I work. I when I work with Reiki, I don't need to know the stuff, the story behind it, because my hands, they go the places the body of the person is telling my hands where I need to put my hands. It's
Yeah, yeah.
the body.
I
It's body to body talking, and it doesn't need the mind.
Yeah, that's wonderful. That's that I kind of thought that, and that makes sense. And if I was involved in something like that, I think I would take that same avenue to not knowing, because then it's almost like you're corrupting your mind by saying, okay, well, this person's leg hurts, and then you have that idea stuck in your head, and then you can't move beyond that, right? So
Right.
yeah, that's a good strategy.
Often it blocks you more than it helps you. And then people
Yeah.
keep telling the same story, and by telling the story, they reinitiate it again. And so often it's good not to know too much.
Yeah, that's very correct. Okay, thank you very much, Renata. I really appreciate your your energy, your love, your information, and thank you for sharing this with us, because for me, this is one of the biggest things for disclosure. Our ancient